So, wow, I think a lot of our speakers have already touched on a lot of what I want to talk about today. And isn't it phenomenal what we can do with our time? I think these children today have shown us that we can do wonderful things when we put the time to it. But I've always been fascinated with the perception of time. You know, how do we experience time? What does it mean to us? And in truth, I think time is honestly bigger than us as a species. I think it's something that we struggle to understand. Now, scientists have done a very good job, but I don't think we're quite there. But what we do know is that time seems to go very, very quickly when we're having fun, and it seems to drag on ponderously when we're not. So feel free to judge based on how you perceive the next 10 to 15 minutes. I remember clear as day being 8 years old and sitting on my grandmother's sofa. It was a purple, green, garish, floral sofa, typical 1990s decor, and thinking, it's been 1994 forever. And genuinely, physically feeling frustrated that 1994 would just not end. So maybe 1994 was a bad year for me. I can't tell. But time does seem to go a lot slower for children, and yet it seems to get faster and faster as we grow up. Almost like a boulder going down a hill slowly, and it starts to speed up and speed up and speed up. But not only do I feel that my life is getting faster, I just feel like I don't have any time. And I don't know why. Is there something about the modern world that just seems to squeeze time from us? And I'm sure you can all empathize. I feel like I don't have enough time at work. I feel like I don't have enough time for my children. And if I don't have enough time for my children and my work, I don't have any time for me. So the question is why? What is going on with the modern world that just squeezes time away from us? So we'll go back. And if I was to say to you that time as we know it today started with the Industrial Revolution, that would sound a little bit silly. We think beginning of time, the Big Bang, creationism. My son is obsessed with cartoons, so Dialga the Pokemon started time. But there's truth in this. Before industry, time wasn't what it was today. You know, I'm not saying that ancient people didn't have a strong grasp of time. The Mayans were able to calculate hundreds, thousands of years into the future. Astronomy, astrology, academics and scholars of the ancient world, they understood time in a macro sense, but not so much on a micro level, from day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute. So let's take medieval England as an example. So I would say about well over 80% of medieval England population, people were farmers. They got up in the morning, they worked all day. When the sun was at the top, at the highest in the sky, they maybe stopped for lunch. Well, actually, it's England, so the greyest sky, the heaviest rain, stop for lunch, and then work until the sun goes down and go to bed. You didn't really need to be anywhere. There wasn't a relevance of where you needed to be or what you needed to do. So time didn't really matter. But industry comes along, and suddenly everybody needs to be somewhere. Factories start on a time. They close at a time. Steam engines come along, and they arrive at the station at a time. And they leave at a time. And not only was time relevant, it becomes important to people. How long you work defines how much you earn. So not only was time relevant, it suddenly became a commodity. How much is time worth? How long you work, that's how much you earned. How much a factory could produce defines how much they earned. So time suddenly not only exists with the Industrial Revolution, but time becomes a commodity. So there was a man in Victorian England, who sold time. Sounds brilliant, that, doesn't it? Sold time. The perfect con selling time. But this was true. He was called John Belleville, and he was an apprentice at the Royal Observatory. And every day he would go to the Royal Observatory in Greenwich and set his watch to Greenwich Mean Time. And then he would walk around the city and go to clients who would pay him some money to set their watch by Greenwich Mean Time. So he was actually making money by selling the correct time. And people valued the fact that time was valuable. They wanted to spend money to be on time. And this was such a profitable venture that even after he died, his wife continued the business. After she died, his daughter continued the business. And of course, eventually, watches got better, they kept time better, and the Belleville enterprise didn't really matter anymore. But what did matter was that time had become a commodity. So think about how much is time worth? Now, I looked this up this morning. In the UK, 1 hour is worth £12.21. That is about 116 renminbi. So a government assumes that 1 hour of your life is worth about 116 renminbi. But what about on a bigger scale? We have like a Ming porcelain vase or a Picasso painting. Goes to auction. How much money is that worth? Hundreds of millions of dollars. Imagine you take 10 years of life and auction 10 years of life. What would it be worth? If someone is going to pay hundreds of millions of dollars for a painting, how much would they pay for 10 years of life? All I know is that I couldn't afford it, and it is essentially priceless. And when push comes to shove, we take away all of our problems, me not having enough time in my day, issues that we have with our children, we have too much homework, money, jobs, everything. When we strip everything away, all we have is time. The time from when we're born and until we die, and anything after that is a bonus. So time is invaluable. So where does our time go? Why do we feel like we have no time? And this is my feeling. It seems as though since our most valuable commodity is time, we kind of thought with industry, mechanization, AI, computers, that we would have more time, that suddenly things would do jobs for us and we could slow down. But that hasn't happened. It seems as though life's got faster and faster and we're working even harder and our time is squeezed all the more. And if we think about it, it's because we live in a profit-driven society. We live in a society that is driven by maximization of profits. And what is the biggest commodity we have? It's time. So our time is squeezed and squeezed because that's the most valuable resource. So I worry about the life our children are going to grow up into. Do we want our children to just work and work and work and study and work? And just as Charles was saying, that sometimes we need to just relax. But then how do we relax in this day and age? The screen, the iPad. And when we give an iPad or a screen or a video game to children, it just sucks up their time and it vanishes. And again, there's monetary value in that because the companies that are creating these apps, they want to suck away the time because they make money from it. And we have two choices there. We have our kids and ourselves just becoming tourists of life. We're watching other people experience things. Or we're working so hard that we don't have a time to experience the world. I remember saying to my son, do you want to go to Egypt? And we'll see the Great Pyramid of Giza. And he said, I saw it, Mr. Beast went there. And you're thinking, come on, we need to experience the world. So it's difficult. And I do feel that when we lose time, it's gone. We can't get time back. There was a wonderful anecdote. I've been saying this for years because it applies just as much to education as it does to the army and the military, as it was mentioned. Now, I always believed Caesar said this, but I could find no evidence that Caesar actually said it, but it doesn't matter. But he was apparently asked, what is the most valuable resource to a general? And the senators would say, is it soldiers? Is it terrain? Is it the general? And he said, no, it's time, because you can never reclaim lost time. True. It's just as true in education. From kindergarten to grade 12, 15 years, it seems huge. That 15 years is a lifetime and a half to 8-year-old me sitting on my grandmother's sofa. But it's not anymore, because we've squeezed and people have put all of their time after time, into creating curricula that is squeezed into those 15 years so that even one lesson missed to many teachers has felt like lost time that children can never get back. So everything is squeezing our time. And in truth, all that really matters is that time. So I'm left with a question. What do I want for my children? And my students, for that matter. What do we want them to do? We want them to have better lives than we had. So we want them to study hard, and we want them to be prepared, and we want them to have wonderful lives, but we also want them to enjoy their lives. And the truth is, I don't have an answer. And I ponder about this for many, many hours. And unfortunately, or fortunately, the best solution I could come up with came from an author who put it in the words of a wizard, Gandalf, when he said, all we have to do is decide what to do with the time given us. Thank you. Well.